guess it would help if I hit the record button. I have a bad habit of doing that.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Turnkey Projects, the place where folks like us love those three little words, needs some work. So, if you look behind me and then watch the video, you'll be able to tell that some time has gone by from the time I videoed this to the time I'm putting it up. So, work's been crazy, and I've been having a lot of problems with video cards. So some of you guys might know what I'm talking about. But thanks for coming back to watch some more of the content. I appreciate your support. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and it helps to go a long way to get this little channel off the ground. So today I've actually got to do a little bit of a voiceover. We're doing fork seals today on Vickie, the insurance auto auction wrecked Vulcan 900. So this will probably be the last one on Vickie. A few things have transpired, so Vickie's still around, mostly in heart though. So, but hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Halfway through the sound will come back on. I had some issues with my mic and didn't realize it till I was halfway through and had to change cameras. So guys, sit back, grab your favorite adult beverage, pop some popcorn, and enjoy the video. Thanks again for coming back to see us. Take care. God bless. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and start off here. I've already done the other fork, just so I knew what I was doing on here. This is the first set I've actually done the seals on. I didn't take the time to show taking the fork off. I do show putting it back on a little bit, but if you need to reference, I'll link one of the first videos I had on the bike where I actually changed the forks. I just figured I'd skip that step, so you guys have already seen it, and you can always go back and reference it off another video. But right here, what I'm doing is this is just a little decorative cover, a little dust sleeve or so that protects the seals. It's just a stamped piece, and there's a couple notches in there. I'll put my screwdriver in there and I'm just tapping it off. So it does stretch fairly easy, but it's not pressed on very hard. So once you get that off, the seals will be underneath there, and I'll come back in. Alright, right here we got the dust seal, and that's just going to keep any dirt that gets past that cover from getting down in the seal. As you can see, it's easy to come out. Just use a flat tip screwdriver. I've seen videos where they used a razor blade to separate it. Set that off to the side. That's one you're going to want to replace along with the main seal, and usually you can get them together. Alright, right here, my camera work isn't the greatest, but we've got a little plastic cap right here on the end, and you can take that off with a razor blade. Just be careful, don't really force it. It's easy to break. Like I said, it's just plastic, so it can break easier with some age. You've got your end cap right there, and that's held in by a internal snap, not really a snap ring, but a split ring. You want to compress that cap to get that out. So I'm going to be changing cameras here in just a second. Take it back. We're going to put it in a vise. You really want to have one permanently mounted and have something that can protect the shaft of this fork to, against the vise. Alright guys, the main key right here is just going to be making sure you don't compress the device too far and crush the tube. It's kind of a fine balance. Sometimes it might be easier to pop this loose while it's still on the motorcycle. You'll want to support the frame, and because this was not really the easiest thing to do. Sometimes if you have another person there to help you while one's pushing that in, the other one can get in there and get the ring out. So through the magic of editing, I've actually cut this time down. It took me about 10 minutes to finally work it loose. But you'll see right here where you push it in. And as soon as you push it in, there'll be the ring right inside there. You want to snap that out. And then just make sure you don't, there's a heavy spring underneath there. You'll see it in a minute. But if you let that cap loose, that thing is going to go flying across. And if you're doing like me in the yard, you can lose things really easily. Alright, through the magic of editing, finally got this down where I'm getting it out right here. And you'll notice that plug will kind of pop out after I get the ring out. And that's that heavy spring that pretty much goes from the top to the bottom. You want to make sure to catch that. And just watch out for oil leaking out, which went all over my leg. Still didn't help my knee out any. But that's the snap ring right there. It goes in a groove on the inside of the fork tube. So we're going to go back over the truck bed and continue on. Okay guys, we're actually going to start going disassembling the interior of it. There's your main spring. You can actually measure that out and go against your manufacturer's dimensions to make sure that hasn't compressed too far. We're dumping the fluid out now. Sometimes you can catch that in a measuring cup if you haven't spilled any out. That'll give you an idea how much to go back in. Otherwise, you can look up your manufacturer's specs and it'll show you in either ounces or in a measurement, which will show when the video changes and the audio comes back. I'll show you a way to do that. Alright, right here we've got a drain plug that is probably easier to do while it's still on the motorcycle and drain it out that way. But you still have to take this plug out to be able to take the inner tube out. Um, this is going to anchor it on the end. You'll see all the pieces in a couple minutes. But you won't be able to take that inner fork tube out until you take this loose. You'll want either, it's easier to do this while it's in a vise around the motorcycle. As you can see, I'm wrestling with it quite a bit. And it will have a copper seal on the end of it. You may want to go ahead and order that when you're ordering your seals, just so you don't have a leak on the end of it. I didn't have that kind of foresight, so I ended up reusing it, and I was lucky that it didn't leak. So we get that off, and then we'll go into the seals. Alright, right here we're going to be getting the inner ring out. Just kind of showing there just a second. You definitely want to clean all this out to get any kind of old fluid, seal material, dirt, and all that out of it. But right here, you can't really see it, but you'll see it when I get it out. There's a little wavy ring with a couple little sections that you can hook a screwdriver or a pick tool in. And that'll just come right out. And then that's your inner seal right there that does all the work. And once again, it's easier to do this in a clean environment, in a shop, concrete floor. You do this outside and you can lose that spring very easily, or that clip very, very easily. But now with the retainer ring out and the screw at the bottom, it's just pretty much a good couple yanks and it'll pop the seal out and the tube. Once again, it's easier to do this while it's in a vise. But here you have your seal. You'll have a spacer and a collar. And then the little pointed area that's right there at the bottom, that actually comes out the inside of the tube. And that's where the screw that we just took out with the copper ring attaches to. But make sure these go back in the right order. And always check your seal. This is going to be a one-way seal. You always want to have that lip and the spring up toward the inside. Because that's what actually does your sealing. The spring holds that against it and the fluid will hit up on the inside of it. Take your spacer and your collar out. Make sure to keep those in the right order. And there's your center tube and spring. Like I said, that's what the screw at the bottom of the fork attaches into. That holds everything in. And just go ahead and make sure everything's good and clean. You do have a spacer inside there. I'd forgotten about that. And like I said, that's what actually the screw goes through that and into that little orifice nozzle there. And that's what actually does the fluid dampening. But from here, we'll go ahead and give it a good cleaning. Make sure all the dirt and seal material is out so everything can work properly. And from there, we'll just go into reassembly. Alright guys, when you're putting this back in, it is kind of important to watch the torque on that. The proper procedure would be get a long Allen head socket and put this in with a torque wrench. You're only looking about maybe 15 foot-pounds, just enough to crush that seal. I've got some plans in the works for this motorcycle, so this is just more of a temporary stopgap so I can go out and ride safely. I was getting a lot of hammering in the front suspension because of some leak in the seal. Right here, always check your manufacturer's recommendation on what thickness fork weld to use. Some will use a little thicker, some will use a little thin, depending on the style of bike and the manufacturer. This is what mine called for, and you really want to, right here I'm going to lubricate the seal to make sure it goes on, doesn't get stuck, and fold that up any. So just a thin coat is fine. You don't have to drown it in it or anything like that. And when you put it on, just make sure to watch that lip on there, make sure it doesn't get caught by the edge of the fork tube and rip open on you, or fold the spring. And remember, the spring is actually going to go toward the inside of the fork. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put in get the seal pushed down in there. The best thing to use would be a seal installer, but since I don't have one for this, I'm using the old seal. So I'm going to flip it upside down so I get the flat edge against the new seal to help push it evenly down. And you can use the hammer to tap this in. Just be careful not to ding the fork tube at all. And you'll see me take the Allen wrench to stick down inside that old seal. This way you're not damaging the new one, and you can still access the seal to pull it back out once you get it all the way in. So you're not going to do any damage to the new one. The old one, is trash anyway. So just kind of helpful hint on that one. but you're going to want to get it down. If you look at before you put it in, you'll see that ridge where that wavy clip goes in. You want to make sure it's down just past that, so that clip will sit in there against it. Alright, right here I'm just trying to get the seal down just a small fraction. I'm going to go ahead and put the wavy spring in there and just using the seal to push it down to lock it in place. And here's kind of just a view you couldn't see earlier, how that thing sits in there. So from here we're going to go ahead and put the dust seal in. Alright, on your dust seal, you're just basically going to push it in. It doesn't have a spring on it. You just want to make sure that dome is sticking up towards the top. The little pleats on the side are going to lock into the main tube. And just tap it in nice and easy. You don't have a lot of force to push it in. And from here, we're going to start filling the fork.
Sorry about that. The battery on the camera died, so I'm switching to the phone. So if the audio or video has changed, let me know if it's for the better or the worse. I'm not really all that happy with this camera, but right now beggars can't be choosers, so bear with me, guys. I've already added some fluid, and what they recommend is to go ahead and do a couple up and down strokes to get work the bubbles out, so you can get an accurate reading on how much fluid you have. Hear the bubbles? Don't have to do a whole bunch of them or wait till the bubbles stop. We're going to add a little bit more. And what my manufacturer calls for, what I've found, is 139. basically 135 to 139 millimeters from the top of the tube with it in the down position. So basically, one other site I've seen, they've used just a combination square. One side is in metric, in centimeters. Basically, if you have 1 centimeter, that's 10 millimeters. So you can go to 139 or 13 and then the 9th mark, that'll be 139. And I pretty much just dip it in and watch to see if I have fluid on it. Now I'll put a little bit more in it. I had a little bit more in the other one, and as I was putting the cap back on, some of it spilled out, and it's right, I estimate right about in that range where it's right supposed to be. So I'd rather go to the maximum line first. Let's go little by little so you don't overfill it. Still nothing. End up using just about all of it. And I don't know if you noticed when I put that seal in, I did dip a little bit of fork oil onto it to lubricate that when it goes on. I don't know if I mentioned it back then or not. So I'm a little bit over, so I'm going to pour just a little bit back in. Let it settle a second. And I'm going to take another measurement. All right, I'm right around about 5 millimeters. Or half a centimeter. So that's right about where I want it. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to put this back in. Like I said, it's easiest to do this if you have a bench mounted vise. So if you notice that spring's hanging out, you're going to bring that tube all the way up, and that should be just about even with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the vise, put this back in it, hopefully at a little bit of an angle, and get this back on there. This should be a little bit easier going back in. And get it capped off. We're going to put the cover back on it, the snap ring, and that'll be pretty much it. All right, we got it, and we didn't lose any oil this time. So this fork actually may be a little bit stiffer than the other, but both of them working together, it should kind of balance each other out. So in worst case scenario, I can always take the tire off, crack that plug, and drain just a little bit off if I have to. So let me get it back together, and we'll get it back on the bike, and if we have enough light tonight, we'll take it out for a test ride.
Alright guys, test drive time. I think I was saying that it felt a whole lot better, but I could still feel a little bit of sponginess, and I think that was just from the air pockets. So we're going out, seeing how it feels.
Alright guys, appreciate you coming back and watching another episode of Old Vickie here. It's a lot better than it was. I still have a little bit of the hammering in there, so I may be just a little bit low on the fluid that I can remedy on the bike. So I'm not worried too much about that. So once again guys, thanks again for coming along and watching how far we went down the rabbit hole. Thankfully it wasn't too far this time, and Vickie's running a whole lot better. Gotta think of what I'm gonna say next. Bear with me, it'll come to me. But thanks again guys. Remember to like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So she's been a good bike, even though she's worse for wear. So she runs strong. She's a good deal for what we've got in it. So guys, that'll tell you right there, you don't have to put a whole lot of money into a bike, and you don't have to have a lot of experience if you're not afraid of messing something up and trying. So get in, get it done. That's what hopefully I'm helping some of you guys do, is tackle some of the things that are easy, and you can do it with basic tools. So get out there, get in the wind. Guys, thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Bye. God bless.